If you've ever wondered whether or not blogging or having a blog is for you, then you're going to love this video because today we have a special guest, and that is Becca Davis. And she is here to share with us her own blogging journey and specifically what blogging has done for her TPT business, how it's allowed her to grow her business, and even what percentage of her traffic comes directly from her blog. She's also going to share with us how you can get started with blogging and simple, practical steps that you can take to not only get started, but to make sure that you're doing it in a way that's going to be profitable. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's meet Becca. Hi, Becca. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well, Lauren. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to have you on today because you're going to be talking about something that you specialize in, and that is blogging. And there have been several people who have asked me to learn more about blogging. They want to hear about blogging on the podcast. It was a special request. And so I asked around, and your name was the only name that came up. There were several people who said, ask Becca Davis. She knows about blogging. So I'm super excited to hear all about that from you today.
Well, that's really exciting. Blogging is my jam, so I'm excited to talk about it today.
Perfect. So let's start off. Just tell the listeners a little bit about you, who you are, and how you guys started selling on TPT and kind of your journey so far.
Yeah, so as you said, my name is Becca Davis. I am an elementary music teacher down in Savannah, Georgia, and I started actually with my blog first, way back my very first year teaching. I started teaching, and the way that music teachers are produced is we go to college and basically you take a ton of music classes and you only take one elementary music class and then you end up teaching elementary music. And so we had all these people that just had no idea what to do. And I didn't really know what I was doing either, but I was kind of the mindset of like, if I can find anything that will work, I would like to share it. So I started the blog so that I could, share anything that was helping, talking about my first year teacher journey. And a whole year later, I started making some activities like for my kids, and I wanted to be able to share them, and I needed like an easy way to share them. And also, it's a lot of work. And so it was a little bit like, I don't know that I want to give all of this away for free. And so that led me to Teachers Pay Teachers, and I got started and I got absolutely hooked. So I've been blogging for about 5 years now, and then on Teachers Pay Teachers for 4. And then along the way, started talking about TPT on YouTube and sharing anything I can share, that anything I have learned that will work, I would like to share. And so I do kind of the same thing on my YouTube channel to help people start their TPT shops.
I love it. Okay. So let's talk blogging. Let's zoom in, let's narrow in on that. And let's talk about what has that done for your TPT store? Like, if somebody's listening and they're like, why would I want to have a blog? Why would I ever even want to sit down and, commit to writing blogs every week or every month or something like that? Talk to us about the possibilities and what effect blogging has had on your TPT business.
I contribute pretty much my whole business to my blog. It doesn't all come from there, but that is for me like the main thing. Blogging is amazing because it helps in so many different avenues. Number one is people are able to find you. So if you go out and write a blog post, some other teacher somewhere needs help with, writing centers, they go to Google and they type in like, what do I do in writing centers? And your post pops up, and then they read about you and they now know that you, one, exist, and they also know that you have a couple of good things to say, and then hopefully they use some of your tips, find that they work, and so now they're building trust with you, and so they're more likely to come back to your blog later on. They're also more likely to purchase your resources on Teachers Pay Teachers, because if they're looking at 3 different writing center activities, but this one, I know this person knows what they're talking about because I've used their stuff before, even if it was the free stuff on your blog, then they're able to, pick you over the others because they now have, they call it the know, like, and trust feature. They know you exist. Hopefully they like you and they've started to trust you because you have some good stuff. It also helps you to build an audience. So like my email list, even my Instagram comes from my blog. And all of those give me ways to connect to my readers and connect to my potential buyers. And then once they get on your email list, you can, send them more helpful tips, and you can also send them products. Same thing with on Instagram. And it just all kind of feeds into each other. But blogging is just very special in that people can actually find you. Like on Instagram, you kind of have to be suggested, or there's ways to find people, but it's not as easy. It's not going to Google, typing in something, and then a post popping up. So that's really the magic of blogging, is not only does it help you build your audience and build that trust, but it also, like, people can actually find you, which is amazing.
So it's kind of like blogging is kind of like a hub for where you would not only for how people find you and how people come in, but how they flow out as well. So you're able to direct them to your email list, to TPT. You're able to direct them to social media where they can get to know your face and see you even more and build more of that know, like, and trust factor. And so, but then it's also, you're talking about blogging, you're talking about people being able to find you through Google search, but Pinterest, as we know, like, Pinterest is tanking for so many people. Pinterest doesn't want to send them off to where they're going to go buy something. And so, like, Pinterest, like, no, Pinterest pins like favor blog posts, like if you're linking to a blog post as well.
Yes. So on my Pinterest, I can see that when my pins go to my blog post, because I own my website, they do so much better than if you send a pin to TPT. And also, Pinterest can kind of tell the different, I'm not super knowledgeable about Pinterest, but from what I understand, it can kind of tell what you're linking to. And so they're much more likely to refer a blog post than a product, because on that blog post, they can see that you're going to get good, helpful content out of it. And that's really what Pinterest is looking for. I didn't even mention that you can also send people from your blog to Teachers Pay Teachers, which is another amazing thing. I do that a lot, especially if you have a product that needs a little more traffic to it. Write a blog. Now people know your product exists and they can go buy it.
All right. So let me ask you a couple of questions just to kind of dig into this a little further. And maybe if someone's kind of thinking, I'm not sure that that's a good fit for me. Let's talk about your traffic, the amount of traffic that you're seeing come to TPT and where all it's coming from. Like, where all are you driving traffic from towards TPT besides just your blog? And what percentage would you say is coming from your blog versus like email, YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, wherever else you're directing traffic to TPT from?
Yeah, so I typically go through all of my data at the end of the month, so I'm pretty on top of that. But blogging and email are my two highest after Teachers Pay Teachers itself. Blogging and email are my two highest traffic sources every single month. And most of my email list has come from my blog. So I kind of lump those together as well.
Yeah.
They make up together, I would say, about 40 to 50% of my non-TPT traffic, sometimes even 60%, just kind of depending on the month and what's going on. I do also have a YouTube channel, which is connected to my blog, so they have mostly the same content. And then I have Instagram, but the way that Instagram works, I don't see a lot of direct traffic from Instagram to Teachers Pay Teachers in my personal experience.
Right. Okay. So that's, to me, that's really encouraging when you're talking about like 40 to 50% of your traffic is coming from your blog or blog email, but yet your email list is coming from your blog and those two are feeding into each other. So that to me sounds really promising as somebody who doesn't like blogging, right? Like I know that that's not for me, but at the same time, I'm listening to that and I'm going, like, this seems like a no-brainer for someone. So let's talk about, what does a person have to do in order to make a blog successful? Like, if you were going to say, if you want to start a blog and you want it to actually work for you and not just waste your time writing long, drawn out essays and putting them up on a website, if you want it to actually work and grow your business, what 3 things do you think a person should be doing?
Okay, so number one would definitely be make sure that you are working on your search engine optimization. That's one of those things that sounds super scary, but I promise it's not that scary when you look into it. And again, you can get super technical, but it doesn't have to be scary. It basically just means, how does Google connect you to your ideal reader, your ideal potential buyer, your audience member, all of that kind of stuff. So Google looks through your blog post for like certain kind of indicators that tell it who that blog post is for. So you want to make sure that you are doing that. How you do that is, number one, with search terms. So thinking through, what are people actually typing into Google in order to find you? This can get, again, super complicated, but on the very basic level, just think, what are people typing in? And you want it to be something not too specific, but not too broad. So, for example, I teach music. So, a good thing for me would be like maybe first grade music lessons or music lessons for half notes or the best singing games to use or things like that, because they're not so broad. It's not just music, because that's going to pull up,
Right.
every single person who's ever talked about music, but it's not so specific. No one's looking for it. There's kind of like a happy middle ground. Where I want to make sure I put that term is going to be in my title. So if I'm talking about first grade music lessons, then I'm going to make my title something like my 5 favorite first grade music lessons. Okay. And then I'm also going to make sure that I put that in like the description of the images, in what's called the meta description, which is like the little tiny description that pops up on Google. And then also like in your actual URL, it'll say beccasmusicroom.com/ first grade music lessons and all of those places. There's a really helpful, if you're using WordPress, there is a plugin that's free. There is a paid version, but I only use the free version because I'm cheap. And so it's called Yoast SEO. And if you get that, it makes everything super easy. It gives you like a stoplight and just tells you like, these are the things to do to make it work. And if you know nothing, it is absolutely wonderful. So that's number one, because you want to make sure that your posts are getting found, is making sure that they're ranked for search. Number two, although probably should have been number one, is making sure that your blog posts are really, really helpful. If they are not helpful, then it does not matter what kind of SEO you're doing. It doesn't matter like anything, nothing matters if they are not super helpful. So make sure that you're giving your best tips, make sure you're sharing really helpful things that people need to know, and all of those really good things. And then the third, I would say, is just write in a casual tone so that people can relate to you, so that they can actually, feel like you're a person and not a textbook. Because that's really the main benefit that we have against like the big textbook companies, is we are people, we are teachers, we are in this alongside you, we're together. And so you really want to play that up and make sure that people realize that you are a person and you're going through this too, and you can help.
Nice. Okay. I love all of those. And I love the fact that you talked about SEO and not just you need to know search engine optimization, but here's specifically what you want to know, because the way that you described it sounds super doable. Like that sounds like something that anyone can do. So I love that.
It is.
Yeah. So talk to me about, if I were to start, let's say I was starting a blog tomorrow, how long do you think I should, or what kind of expectation should I set in my mind to say, okay, I should do this for X length of time before I start to see results?
So the downside about blogging is that it is the long game, and that's the same with TPT, that's the same with YouTube, it's the same with podcasts. Just overall, you're playing the long game, so you got to look long term. I would say give it like a good actual try for a solid like 6 months before you start seeing much return, and then after a year, it should be picking up a little bit. But it's going to be very slow at first, but it's very much it's slow, it's slow, and then it starts rolling, and then it starts getting better and better. And TPT is kind of the same way with that. Like it's slow, it's slow, it's slow, and then after a while, it starts finally picking up some momentum. So don't be scared if no one's looking at it. I remember checking my stats like every 5 minutes and being like, ooh, one person read my blog post, and like being really excited. And it does get better, and just like you got to really focus on it. And I would say with anything like that that's long term, focus on what you're doing and not the results at first. So at first, you're not going to get a ton of views. It's okay, that's normal. But focus on like, oh, I wrote 4 blog posts this month, and
Yeah.
focus on those things that you can actually control instead of what you can't control, and just kind of happens.
Yeah, I love that. So giving yourself 6 months minimum. And over the course of that 6 months, would you say one blog post a week, or what amount would you recommend, or how often should they be blogging?
I would recommend 1 per week, especially at the beginning, so you can get used to making them, because it does get a lot easier to write. Just everything gets easier with practice. So once a week would be the best. If you can't commit to that, then once every other week is fine. It's not going to like stunt your growth or anything. So once a week would be the best. Every other week would be kind of the minimum I would go with.
All right, nice. So let's talk about who shouldn't write a blog. And you may say like everybody should write a blog, but probably not. You would probably agree that probably not everybody should write a blog. My first blog post, for example, and only blog post was like 5 things washing people's feet taught me about being a teacher, which is terrible, like an absolute. And, you know, you were talking about watching for views, like in the last 2 months, 2 people have found that. And I don't even know how to take the blog post. Like, I don't even know how to take it down. I thought it was gone. And so every time, like, you know, you're talking about like a view comes in and people are like, oh, wow, a view. I see a view and I'm like, oh my gosh, where is that thing? How do I delete it? It's awful. So someone like me should definitely not be writing blog posts, but tell us, like, fill in the blank for us. If you blank, then you shouldn't be wanting to start a blog, or you shouldn't try to start a blog.
I'm very anti the idea that like you shouldn't start a blog. I think
Okay.
it's a great idea. Um, However, I will say that typically there's different, personalities. People who are more introverted tend to do really well with blog posts because you can sit there and you can perfect it and you can work on it before you post it. And it's also not, like your face. And so you can kind of hide a little bit, which is really, really helpful, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are someone who maybe doesn't have a huge attention span, not great at like writing longer posts, that might not be the best option for you. However, there are some workarounds. So, for example, you can use like the voice to text and talk and then have that transcribed. Or if you want to do more of like a podcast or a video, you can put those onto your blog so that they still exist on your website. I do think that every single person should have a website, even if you're not going to have a actual blog on it. But yeah, really does favor some people more than others. And it just kind of is going to come down to your personality and what you're interested in.
Right. And so, like, for me, the reason I say that blogging is like not for me, and just to give maybe the listeners some examples of like maybe if it's not quite for you, is that for me personally, I know that that would be something that I would dread every single week. If I thought I have to write a blog post, that would be something that I would I would drag my feet on. I would find little things to do that weren't going to help my business in order to avoid writing the blog post. Or I would sit there and proofread it 20 times and waste too much time overthinking it when I could be doing something that was actually going with that time that was going to move my business forward more than agonizing over a blog post.
Mm-hmm.
But then I agree with what you're saying where you're talking about the workaround, because I thought about, for me personally, just taking emails that I've written and sending them off to someone to have them repurpose them into a blog post, because the content is there, the ideas are there, but it's not search engine optimized or anything like that. But I also love where you talked about audio, like making the audio or making the video, and you can always take that video if you're ADD, but you have a lot of wonderful, helpful content and you want to have a blog, and you could send it off to a VA, or you can send it off to a family member who's really great at writing, and just have them take that video and kind of transcribe it into something that would work for a blog post as well.
Yes. Or even if you don't want to go into quite as many details, you could just do the video or the audio and then like the main points and maybe a couple bullet points underneath it. And that way you're still getting it up and it still exists. You're still search engine optimized, but it's not quite as much work. And if people want more information, they can just watch the video or listen to the audio that's right there.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Awesome. Okay, so if someone wants to get started today, what should be their first step? Like, what is the first thing that they should do if they want to start a blog?
Well, your first step would be actually like creating your blog. So you need to start your blog by purchasing your domain and doing your hosting. There's many different places like, Squarespace is the one that is advertising all over YouTube on every YouTube video I ever watch. I am very partial to WordPress, so that's the one that I like, and I use SiteGround is my hosting. They're the ones that like manage the back end. I don't know much of the technical stuff. I just kind of know like what I need to do to write a blog post, but SiteGround for hosting, WordPress, that would be my huge recommendation. They're super nice. If you have any problems, they will like talk to you, and there's like a chat feature, there's a call feature, and they have helped me with so many things. And again, I don't know anything about the back end, so there's sometimes I sound really dumb, and they're super nice about it and explain things very well. So again, Squarespace, there's lots of different ones. You can just Google like what's the best way to write a blog, and you'll find many different things. After that, you're going to set up your website. I would just get like a little bit on the homepage and then start writing the blogs, because I think the blogs are the fun part, because it's the content that's the most important part. So just, get your
Yeah.
homepage so that it has something on it, and then start writing your blogs. And I would make like a huge, huge, huge list of all of your ideas. And it's one of those things, once you start making ideas, you'll have more ideas and more ideas. So make a big list, pick whichever one sounds most exciting, and get started on that one.
I love it. And then 6 months, and you write one a week. And then at the end of 6 months, reevaluate. And I guess, what do you do at the end of the 6 months? Say, if it's not working for you, go back and tweak SEO, go back and look at content. What would you recommend at the end of the 6 months?
That's going to totally depend on your personality type. I am a like content over everything person. So I would say look at your content, see, what you're writing, and if there's anything that you can adjust to be a little more search friendly. You can go back and adjust SEO as well. It takes about 6 months for something to start getting picked up on Google, even for established blogs. Like when I write a blog post, I don't intend for it to really get seen by anyone other than my email list for a good 6 months. So that's kind of the place where you can start looking at your blog posts and restarting, and then, just making sure that you're writing posts that people want to read and want to share.
Love it. Okay. So let's get into some fun questions. You're still full-time in the classroom, is that right? Yeah. Okay. The nod for those who are not watching on YouTube, for those who are on the podcast.
Oh, sorry, I forgot.
The slow nod, like it's been a long Wednesday.
It has been a long Wednesday.
Yeah. So just give us a brief rundown. What does your day look like? What does a typical day look like for you?
Okay, so for me, I typically get up, I work out first thing, not because I'm a good person, but because if I don't do it first thing, I won't ever do it. And so I do that quickly, and then I make breakfast. I eat the same thing every morning so that I don't have to think about it, because the less things you need to think about, the better. And then I usually go in my office, which is where I am now, and I eat my breakfast. Well, actually, I have a smoothie. So I drink my breakfast and I work on my business for some aspect for about 30 minutes to an hour. And then I get dressed, I go to school, lots and lots of stuff happen at school. And then I come home. Our school gets out actually pretty late. So I get home either like 5:30 or 6:30, depending on, like, today I had choir after school. I know you're making a face at me. I know it's so late, but today I had choir after school. So like the kids didn't leave till 5:30. I didn't get home till almost 6:30.
Oh, gosh.
And then after that, I always try to do like something to kind of chill out for a little bit. So I'll like read or something, take my dog for a walk, and then work for a little bit, and then make dinner and eat dinner, and sometimes sit on the couch and watch TV. And sometimes I pull my laptop back out because I just can't stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I feel you on that, except I have been out of the classroom for a couple of years now, but I remember those days of like coming home, it's a late night, and you're having to try to build the business in those tiny slots of time. But I definitely never got up early in the morning to go work out and then worked before going to school. Like there's no way I could have done that. Like,
Because I get home so late, it's like by the time I get home and it's, 5:30, 6:30, and I'm exhausted on top of that. Like I'm exhausted
yeah,
whether I work out or not, because, children are a lot, and, we have extra fun things happening.
yeah,
And so I would get home and I'm like, I didn't do anything today, and I'm so tired that I can't do anything now. And so I found that if I work a little bit in the morning, then I just feel like I've accomplished something. I've checked something off of my to-do list, and
yeah,
that just makes me feel so much better overall. Going to work, I
yeah,
feel better because I've already checked something off. Even if it's a horrible day, I at least, got that much done.
yeah. Okay, so on those long weeks when you're taking a little bit more chill time to yourself in the evening, what are you binge watching on Netflix, or what are you watching on TV?
Ooh, right. Do you want like right now or like my favorites?
Give us your favorites and right now. Your favorite and then what you're watching right now.
Okay. My favorites would be Gilmore Girls, Once
Okay.
Upon a Time. Love that show. And then probably Blacklist. Those are very different shows.
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
enjoy them all. If you've seen them all, they're very different. And then currently, my husband and I are watching um, NCIS. We restarted it, so we just got to the part where Tony leaves, which is very sad. But we're trying to chug through anyway. And then when he's not here, I watch The Big Bang Theory.
Okay, there you go. Okay, I love it. Favorite podcast to listen to on your commute?
I haven't been listening to very many podcasts. I it was like too much noise, so I started going to
Yeah,
like very chill music instead
I like
because
it.
I have noise all day. I teach music, so it's loud. I
Yeah.
love, we have fun, but it's very loud. But when I am going to listen to a podcast, Smart Passive Income by Pat Flynn is
Mm,
hands down my favorite.
yeah. Yeah, he's one of my favorite too. I love his coaching calls, especially like the coaching calls that he
Yes.
does. They're so fun. Well, thanks so much, Becca, for coming on. And if a listener wants to find you and they want to learn more about blogging, I saw that you had some videos about like batching blog posts and things like that. So if they want to find you, where do they find you at?
Yes. So I have a YouTube channel. It's just called Becca Davis. If you type in Becca Davis TPT, I will pop right on up. I have a lot of videos, but I have a whole playlist. If you go to playlist, it'll say all about blogging and it has every blogging video I've ever made. There's a lot. And then if you want to connect, you can find me on Instagram. It's at becca.e.davis. Little obnoxious. I do apologize, but I did not choose my name. So, there's that. Um, so you can hit me up over there. I'm in there pretty much every day and in my DMs all the time. I'm happy to talk to you, happy to answer any questions that you've got. So come talk to me.
Well, love it. Well, thanks so much for coming on tonight, especially after a long day on a Wednesday. We're going to let you go so that you can go get some rest and relax with your husband. And thank you so much for coming on and for sharing all of your wisdom about blogging with everybody. I sure appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Now, Becca did not mention this in our interview, but I wanted to let you know that she also has a blogging course. So if you want to learn more about blogging, you can go to her YouTube channel and check out her blogging videos, but you can also just go ahead and take her blogging course where she's taken all of the information that you need to know to have a successful blog, and she has put it in a course, and I have a link to that down in the description. Make sure and check out Becca's channel and make sure to subscribe. And in the coming weeks, I am so excited to share with you more guest interviews. We're going to be having Shelly Reese on, and we're going to be having a panel. Yes, I said panel of TPT sellers where they're answering your questions about what their TPT schedules look like, things that have been a waste of time inside of their business, and things that have been really profitable for them inside of their business. You don't want to miss that. So make sure you like this video and hit that subscribe button so you can see more of these videos.